Hello everybody! In this video, I'm going to teach you 10 normal things that you can do every single day to learn English fast without actually studying. The first tip is listening to podcasts. Your brain learns languages through repetition and exposure. And podcasts train your ear to understand natural speech, different accents, and everyday vocabulary about a wide range of topics, depending on the kind of podcast you're listening to. If you're not ready to listen to authentic native level podcasts about different stuff, well, you can listen to my podcast, where I speak a little bit more slowly and explain vocabulary at the same time. But once this becomes relatively easy, I encourage you to listen to podcasts about all sorts of subjects, depending on your interests. If you like finance, listen to finance podcasts. If you like sport, listen to sports-related podcasts. And well, if you like the news, you can listen to podcasts related to the news. And the reason why I'm saying this first, before my other 9 tips, is, well, because if you've got your AirPods, your headphones, you can listen to a podcast on the go whilst you're driving, you're flying, you're cooking, you're just chilling at home. You can listen to a podcast all the time. So that way, I think it's the easiest thing to incorporate into your daily routine. And don't worry about stopping to translate and look up words and phrases that you don't know. Just focus on understanding the general idea and making it something that is enjoyable and, for that reason, something that you can maintain in the long term. Then, of course, if there are keywords that keep being repeated, then, alright, look it up. And let me know, do you listen to podcasts? If so, which podcasts do you listen to? Let me know in the comments. The second tip is, as you might have guessed, watching series, TV programs, television, or films. But why does it work? You'll learn real expressions, pronunciation, native humor, a bit of slang as well, and how natives actually communicate. But be aware, this is a little bit trickier than listening to podcasts, at least that's my opinion. Because with series, films, etc., there's action going on, there's a lot of background noise. There are so many things happening at the same time, which don't help to be able to really zone in on what you are listening to. Whereas with podcasts, I think you can get in the zone, which helps you to focus and really understand what the speakers are saying. On the other hand, watching series, films, maybe it's more enjoyable for many people. What do you prefer, podcasts or series? And the other question that many people ask me is, should I turn on the subtitles or not? Should I put on subtitles in my mother tongue or in English? My advice is 100% to turn on the subtitles, but make sure they are in English. You should be watching programs, series, etc. in English with the subtitles at the same time. Why? Well, because that way you make sure that you're able to understand enough to be able to follow the story and the plot, which is around 80%. And if you didn't hear what they said, then, well, you can see it, you can read it. But as you start to realize that you're understanding the vast majority, maybe you can become more independent. What do I mean by this? Being independent is not relying on the subtitles. So when you feel like you're understanding pretty much everything, test yourself, push yourself, challenge yourself, remove the subtitles and see how you get on. Because in the real world, when you are practicing English, well, you're not going to see subtitles all of the time. So at some point, you need to challenge yourself, and then you can see how good you really are at understanding English. So first step, with subtitles in English, then when you feel confident enough, get rid of them. The third tip is reading. Read every day. Why does it work? Reading massively improves your vocabulary, your grammar accuracy as well. spelling, of course, and sentence structure. And the best part? You see words repeatedly, over and over again, which helps you to remember them naturally, in context. And that is the key part. You are learning vocabulary naturally, like natives learn vocabulary, by, consuming the content. So you'll always see the full context, not just random words and phrases on their own. Of course, you shouldn't be starting with Shakespeare. You could read blogs, news articles, Reddit posts, Instagram or Facebook conversations, captions, and even reading the comments on very popular and viral posts on Instagram. This way, you can start to read a lot of the phrases and the way that natives speak online. So it's not just about books, because I'm not a bookworm. That means I'm not that into reading books. But ultimately, reading books is probably the best thing to do. But it's hard. It's really tough. It's complicated. So if you struggle to understand and enjoy reading books in English, you could try graded readers. These are books that are adapted to learners depending on the level, A2, B1, B2, removing certain words and phrases to make it a little bit easier for the reader to understand. Another piece of advice is to read biographies or autobiographies, because these tend to be a little bit easier to understand compared to novels, which include lots and lots of adjectives and descriptive words, which can make it a little bit tricky to read. To sum up, you should be reading every day in English. What you read, well, it's up to you. The fourth tip is also related to reading. I advise you to subscribe to English newsletters. I'm sure you know, but a newsletter is something that people write using email, which could be about all sorts of topics, and then you will receive this newsletter in your inbox and you'll be able to read it. It creates daily or weekly exposure without needing the motivation, because once you've signed up, well, you'll receive an email. And if you're anything like me, when I receive an email, I always click on it and I read it because of my OCD. I can't see my inbox with more than 2 or 3 emails that have been unread. So if you have OCD, it's a great way to practice without having to take the initiative to read. And this, well, it builds a habit. And habits are very important to be able to stay consistent, because there are times, weeks, months when we lose motivation. But if you already have the habit of reading a newsletter, then it doesn't require motivation to stay consistent. So my recommendation is to look up interesting newsletters about topics that interest you, that appeal to you, sign up to them. The vast majority are all free. And then you'll notice that you'll receive plenty of emails which will be in English that you can start reading and consuming just to give you more exposure to the language without actually studying. That's the whole point, innit? The fifth tip is also related to reading, but not exclusively. It is about staying in touch with the news. I believe that most people read the news, listen to the news, watch the news, but I bet most of you do it in your first language, in your mother tongue. Am I right? And if that is the case, well, I think it's easy enough to switch to doing it in English. The BBC is a great resource, the website, the application, all of the podcasts. Even if you have a VPN, you can access the BBC all over the world. And I think most countries do anyway have access to BBC 24-hour news. And with this, you have constant exposure to what's happening in the world, and everything will be explained in English. In that way, you can stay up to date about what's happening, but studying or learning at the same time. I don't want to say studying, because that's not what this video is about, but you'll be learning while staying up to date. So try to reduce the amount of news you consume in your own language and increase the amount of news that you consume in English. And hey, it can broaden your horizons at the same time. It's a win-win situation. Number 6 is messaging people in English, texting in English. Now, of course, we needed to focus a little bit on writing, but I don't mean writing long emails or writing letters or essays or even your own novel or a diary, because all of these things, in my opinion, require quite a lot more effort. And they're not as fun or interesting either. That's why texting or messaging is probably the easiest and arguably most beneficial type of writing that you can practice. And writing activates vocabulary differently. It helps you in a different way because you are forced to create sentences. Think of words. Try to find them from your passive knowledge and activate your active knowledge. It gives you the platform, the opportunity to make mistakes and correct your mistakes. And it's much better than only consuming English. As I said, your passive knowledge is one thing, listening, reading, and watching stuff. But in order to actually become fluent and become a confident speaker in that language, you need to activate your active knowledge to be able to create, to produce, to write, and ultimately to speak. If you have family members or friends that you can talk to, of course you have a huge advantage. If this isn't the case, well, you need to start making friends or at least practice buddies that you can talk to in English and send messages to. And my next few tips are related to that, so let's keep going. Number 7 is joining a community, an international community based around your hobby. Wherever you live in the world, it is possible to join communities of expats, of immigrants who speak English. In some countries, some cities, of course, it is much easier than others, but it's always possible because at the end of the day, you can do it online as well. This is amazing for exposure and motivation. And you learn English and become more and more fluent because you have a tangible reason to communicate. Motivation is everything. You're not thinking, I need to practice and study English. You're thinking, I want to talk about football. I want to talk about fashion. I want to talk about technology. So how do you start? Think of a hobby that you'd like to get into or you'd like to stay in touch with. An example could be running. I like running. So then I'm going to look up international running clubs in my city. And you might feel a little bit shy, a little bit embarrassed, but, build up the courage and go to meet up with the members of this club. You can go for a run with them and, well, you can surely practice English with them. If it's not running, maybe it's cooking, or maybe it's going to different restaurants. So you can chat about cooking, cuisines, restaurants when you go and meet up with them. And if it's absolutely not possible, well, there are online platforms to be able to do this. Facebook groups, Reddit groups, Discord groups. So think of what hobby, what activity you would like to do more often with other people. Do your research to see what's available, and that way you can start chatting or doing this activity in English with other people, so you're not studying at all. You're just using the language, getting the practice that you desperately need. Number 8 doesn't apply to everyone, but if you're single, you can date in English. This might actually be the number 1 tactic, but I know it doesn't apply to everyone. My fiancée is Spanish, and my Spanish is very good. Thanks mainly to her. In some languages, I think there is an expression which is that you don't learn a language in a classroom, you learn it in the bedroom. But anyway, the point is that dating and getting to know somebody Well, it forces you to communicate. You need to get to know as much as possible about that person. You need to ask as many questions as possible. You can make some little jokes as well. You can train flirting. You learn so many different things, and for a lot of people, it's maybe more exciting to date someone from another country because you learn about their culture. You learn about, what they enjoy and how they interact. The easiest way to start doing this is through applications like Tinder, Bumble, etc. But if not, I've heard a lot of friends who end up having conversations and flirting with others just directly on Instagram by sending a direct message. So, if you're in the market for someone and you're single and ready to mingle, well, I'd encourage you to try to date people from other countries. And that way it forces you to use English. If you've got any experience doing this, let me know in the comments and tell everybody. Was it useful? Did it work? Are you better at English because you dated in English in the past? Number 9 is for those people who are taken, who are in a relationship. And it is to find a conversation partner who can, in the end, kind of become your mate, become your friend. How do we start? How do you actually begin to do this? If you've got contacts of friends who you've met in the past, who are English native speakers, and maybe they want to improve their language skills of your mother tongue, well, you can take it in turns to practice the language. For example, if you have 1 hour, you can practice 30 minutes in Spanish and 30 minutes in English. My mum has actually started doing this with my future mother-in-law. They get together every week and they have a chat about a different topic, more or less half an hour in Spanish and then the other half an hour in English. But if you don't already have a good contact to be able to get started, well, there are lots of platforms to start a conversation exchange. Just Google it and there are many options, and you can try out a few different people who are trying to learn your language whilst they are English speakers, so then you can learn English at the same time. Test it out, give it a go, and if you connect with someone, you can make it a weekly or even daily habit. Practice makes perfect. And with this person, if you've got their WhatsApp number, you can, exchange messages at the same time to keep practicing your writing as well as your speaking. Number 10 is for introverts. Because these activities of joining a community, dating, or finding a language exchange partner, it might be a little bit nerve-wracking for you. So you are in luck. You are so fortunate that nowadays artificial intelligence exists. You can chat to your favorite AI, English with Lewis, ChatGPT, Gemini, you name it, 24/7. You can be sending messages, writing different opinions, asking questions, having a chat with artificial intelligence, and you can learn about different topics whilst using English at the same time and tell your favorite AI partner to correct any mistakes or teach you advanced words and phrases at the same time. So this, as I said, is perfect for introverts or just people who feel a little bit lazy about actually chatting to real people. I won't go into more detail because I think we all know how to use artificial intelligence at this point, but you can ask questions, you can give responses, you can use English all of the time. So it's a game changer, for sure, hands down. To conclude, this is my final message. The secret is simple. Stop treating English like a school subject. Start treating it as part of your lifestyle. The people who improve fastest often aren't the ones who study the most, but rather they are the ones who find a way to interact with English every single day. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. And If you want to join my English classes or download my application, there's a link in the video description. Bye!